First, on the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system, we seek to amend the Criminal Procedure Code. The bill is in Parliament, the Evidence Act, and later this year we will amend the Penal Code. The detailed proposals on the amendments to the Criminal Procedure Code, CPC, I will cover in my second reading speech. I told the House in January that we have embarked on a comprehensive review of the Penal Code. We set up a committee in July 2016 to this end to undertake a fundamental review, to look at the principles which underlie our laws, what offenses could be covered, what are the punishments should be, and whether the current punishments are appropriate. It's quite a broad review. The committee aims to complete its work in a few months' time, and we will invite feedback from the public. Significant focus of the Penal Code review would be enhancing protections for vulnerable persons, children, people with mental disabilities, domestic workers. Mr. Ang Wei Ning spoke about this. We have seen cases where such persons are violently treated, hurt, exploited, even killed by the very people who ought to be protecting them. Many members will know of the case of NE as too many Singaporeans, and we can understand the anger that many people felt. There are other cases like this. Recently, the case of a mother who abused her 2-year-old son, and after 2 years, he died from head injuries, assaulted for not being able to recite numbers. Our punishments for these sorts of offenses are generally stiff. We will nevertheless review the punishments and what is the level of proof that is needed for these cases. Mr. Ang Wei Ning spoke about Vulnerable Adults Bill. Our MSF colleagues have been working hard on this, and I understand the bill will be tabled in Parliament soon. Mr. Louis Ng asked about marital rape. That is also under review. Let's be clear, violence against women is wrong. No ifs and no buts on that. So removal of immunity against marital rape is being studied. Second, I want to talk about the process reviews and changes, the steps we are taking to improve our processes. When you look at investigations, our investigative processes will aim to take better care of victims' well-being. In particular, we're looking at investigations and court processes for sexual crimes to better protect victims of such offenses. Mr. D'Souza and Mr. Louis Ng asked about this. I first announced in August 2016 that we were reviewing this. We have listened to the victims to understand their concerns. We have worked with several organizations, MSF, hospitals, courts, NGOs, to improve our processes and the way our officers interact with the victims. Some examples of the changes that have been made, we have selected and started training a group of officers. We call them sexual crime duty officers. They will conduct interviews with victims. We have introduced one-step abuse forensic examination center, or One Safe Center. Victims can also be examined by a doctor on site at CID without the need to shuttle between CID and hospital and having to recount what happened to them once at the hospital and once to the police officers, everything to be done in one place at the One Safe Center. We have developed a training video for our officers on how to question the victims in an empathetic way, and Aware helped us with that. They will then understand and have greater empathy the trauma faced by victims. In June of this year, the police, together with KK Hospital and other partners, will pilot a multidisciplinary interview model. And this would be focused on children who have been sexually abused by family members. It's necessary to gather the facts from these children. But again, one can imagine or understand the stress that such children may undergo if they have to be interviewed separately by police, doctors, child protection officers. Adds to the stress. And so we will seek to integrate these interviews so that the children need not repeatedly recount the traumatic experience. In addition, court processes will aim to better protect victims of sexual assault cases, including automatic protection of identity, closed-door hearings, and questions about the victim's sexual history and unrelated behavior. There will be restrictions on what sort of cross-examination will be allowed, subject to the overall jurisdiction of the courts. And that will be set out when we deal with the legislation. We will define the precise scope, what we are intending to do, and how the process can be taken forward. Another process is the Appropriate Adults Scheme. We started this in 2013 for persons with intellectual disabilities and mental health problems. This was extended in 2017 to support young suspects. Independent volunteers are the appropriate adults. They are trained to provide emotional support to the interviewees. In 2017, the AAs provided support for about 700 interviews during the course of investigations. And the feedback has been positive, both from the volunteers who are appropriate adults, as well as the investigation officers. In April of this year, we will roll out the scheme, the Appropriate Adult Scheme, to more police and CNB units so that it can support more young suspects. And it will also include customs and CPIB. Separately, we are also looking to identify and deal with the basic issues that lead people to crime. Mr. Murali Pillai spoke about involving the community and VWOs and how to deal with offenders with mental health conditions. This is something new in the sense of what I'm going to say. We will introduce a new initiative. It will be called the Home Team Community Assistance and Referral Scheme, or HTCAS. When our officers deal with individuals who have committed offense, often they come across or become aware of other problems and the complex circumstances surrounding these offenders. And as Mr. Murali pointed out, some have medical issues too, and some are struggling to make ends meet. Others have problems with family. So we will have these CAS officers stationed at every police division. So the investigators will deal with the crime solving, if I may call it. The CAS officers will assess whether social interventions are needed to address the underlying issues. Those could be, the interventions could be in the form of counseling, it could be in the form of mental health assistance, it could be in the form of financial assistance. The CAS officers will then refer the offenders to a suitable agency for help and continue to follow up. We are studying this in detail with MSF, and we will try to pilot this at a police division this year. Another important area is how we deal with young offenders. Our approach is that, if you take today, 80% of the youths who are arrested are not charged. 4 out of 5 are not charged. The police will give them a warning and refer them to counseling and other programs. We want to give them a chance to sober up, stay on the right side of the law after that. But there will be cases, as the statistics show, 20%, where we have no choice. We have to take stern action. Some are repeat offenders. Some could be serious offenses like drug taking, trafficking. Such cases, they will be detained, and for punishment, deterrence, and equally important, their own rehabilitation. Reformative training, or RT, is an essential, necessary regime for such young people. Within the RT population, we try to group them by risk profile and needs. This helps to provide a more targeted set of interventions. The trainees will go through programs that will help them take charge of their rehabilitation. They can then reflect on their offenses, how to stay crime-free, and how to strengthen their relationships with their family. Prisons will also continue with their education and skills training for the reformative trainees. Those who can will continue to take their N levels, O levels, A levels. There are also vocational training opportunities such as WDA accredited courses. Now, we intend to further enhance the RT regime. One of these changes is to reduce the minimum detention period from the current 18 months to either 6 months or 12 months. This is in line with the more targeted approach we want to take because different individuals may require different intensities of intervention and different lengths of rehabilitation. I will speak further about the RT regime during the second reading of the CPC Amendment Bill later this month.